Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Welcome to all the guests. Rabbi Isai, if you are in London, a tzaddik bala'ir, it's a big, come join in. Mara and Jonathan Stefansky, Mishnechina Sodom Simcha, Beriksha Gil, okay, Kitzer, check him out. Rabbi Isai, it's unbelievable that in 10 days from now, 10 short days, Mesechtes Bava Metzia is starting. Don't sit on the sidelines. Grab your phone, text your friend, WhatsApp your friend, send a message, put it on your status. If you put it on your status, what does it cost you? A minute of your time, and you might actually bring somebody to Torah and change their lives. 10 days. That's it. Let me show you how it's done. Here's a couple of statuses. We're not going to go through them, I don't think. But different people did this in Hebrew. Here, the Marshal, this one, it changes. You see, you put this on, 11 days are left. They put different clips. You show people what it's like. Mesechet, no Mesechta. Okay. Oh, says Reb Chaim Moshe, in Geman from Williamsburg. Shalom Aleichem. Rav Eli, you're amazing. Okay, that's the end of the email. Shalom Yisrael. I'm with you for 3 years. In Geman from Williamsburg, and I can't miss a day. I heard you say the invitation in English that Bava Metzia is starting in a few days, and you struggled to do it in Yiddish. So I decided to do it for you. He took word for word in Yiddish, beautiful, to share with the Yiddish speakers. Thank you so much for great cheer. Let's keep on dafing together until we finish Shas in Geman from Williamsburg. Rabbi Isai, here goes. First of all, Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? What's the last name? Danziger. From? Where are you from? Lakewood. Gewaldig. Here we go. You ready?
Rabbi Isai, ze ihm gläubig. Bava Metzia hat sich gewoon een gezahlte Tag. Ins alle gedenken, vergeet de eerste Mesechta was me gelernt, is Bava Metzia. Favos, denk ze Geschmack. Alle Metzias, schneim Algzim, hamafgit, is ob die Banks gezirkt zu den Zaten, gab dich mit, mach ein Geschmack in Chazure. En ob sich also schon ungeweiht ook, wird der Rebelle das tauschen. So gab dich mit, Bava Metzia hat sich gewoon noch gezahlte Tag.
How do you say trauma in Yiddish? Ungeweitig. Something like that, yeah? Okay, gewaldig. I joined at the start of Kiddushin. I've fallen behind quite a bit. Stubbornly and contrary to your sage advice, I'm attempting to catch up. Rabbi say, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm going to chazer this over in 10 days in the beginning of Bava Metzia. But don't try to catch up. It's a bad idea. Everybody that tried, that I know, that tried, and told me I am different, at the end they fell. Now that I have more time each day, I'm now at Baba Kama Daf Kuf Gimel. Not bad, 6 daf behind, not bad. But I still recommend that you skip ahead. Watching a shir as I eat pashachers, you mentioned the chiddush regarding pashachers, and you can apply it to learning. I found it intriguing and feel that you have support at least b'derech drush from Pirkei Avos, ki in Torah, pasuk melech toicha, ma'im shur tishte. These are the same elements mentioned for the importance of pashachers. Halei davaru. Just saying, continue atzlach in your amazing derech. Rabbi Isai, very, very big news. My very, very good friend, and all of yours as well, came out with an unbelievable Haggadah. Wow. Reb Noam Fix. I didn't have a chance yet to read it. Be'ezer Hashem, I'm going to go through this. The process of self-discovery through the Haggadah, but it was more. What does Rabbi Shawai say? It was about negative, what is it? The negativity, don't let negativity bring you down.
Not believing in limitation.
Not believing in limitation. Not believing in limitation. I should have read this before I started this year. Gewaldig. Okay, shkoyach. Thank you. I'm taking one. My daughter-in-law bought one. She wrote on the chat. I already got one because somebody put it on the chat. I already bought one. All right. Yishkoyach, Tiskil mitzvahs, you should be zoicha to sell hundreds of thousands of copies, and people should do tshuva and not be limited. Exodus of the mind. It's interesting. I want to tell you something that there was a word I wanted to say over in Shir, and I don't know how I missed it. It's even in the middle of, like, it was one of these notes, in the middle of my line, because it says over there, it says in the Gemara something about that you can't be moichel yourself. A ganav can't be moichel himself versus being moichel the ganav. You have the guy that was robbed; he could be moichel the ganav, and it says the ganav himself cannot be moichel himself if he was the yoirish, the only he inherited from a ger. He's going to be moichel himself. I just wanted to say then that that's one of the things that I believe that limits people. Talking about limiting yourself, people are not moichel themselves. They do an avera, they do something in their lives, some shtos, whatever. It's a huge. In Yiddishkeit, you move on. Yes, you do tshuva, but don't think about the past. Don't let it limit yourself. Okay, you talk about that in your Agada. It's right in there. So you should have put it in there. It's in the. Okay. Fine. Rabbi Isai, let me just make sure. We might. We're at Tzadik Balair. This we did. This. Yeah, Tzadik Balair. All right. The Masechta is sponsored for the unity of Am Yisrael. The Paras HaChodesh, the Nishma Zechariah ben Moshe, the Nishma Zechariah bas Yosef. Paras HaChodesh, Ahron Fraiman, it should be Zechus to Rav Eli for continuing siyadta dishmaya and teaching Torah to Klal Yisroel. Amen. Thank you. Paras HaChodesh, Mazal Tov Ahron, Rav Eli, and the entire mishpacha on the birth of Sophia Ruth. Paras HaShavua, Zechus for my daughters SB bas SR and EM bas SR to find shidduchim bekorov. Amen. Bekorov. Yosef Ben-Zev, in memory of our dear brother, Aaron Tzvi ben Shmuel Zev, Yibal Chaim Tovim by his family. Art of the month, anonymous for Zechus for an easy childbirth, for his daughter and a healthy baby. Rabbi, don't forget, go on your status, put it in there. Mendy, you did that once, no? It works. I did it for you. Did it work? We got to do it. We got to get up. I don't know. Okay. Basically, you take a clip. You have a clip of the shir of anything that says shir starting, Bava starting in 10 days. You go to WhatsApp and you hit status and you just click in there and then you pull the video out and it goes onto your status. My status. It's very, very simple. I have to start doing it. Mamish takes 30 seconds, a minute, and you bring people. It works. People start doing the shir because you went to status. Take a minute, pause, go to status. Or make that phone call. You know how many people, unfortunately, dropped out of the shir? Thousands. And Baba Kama, it's not an easy masechta, it's a tough one. We got to make a big scene. Baba is going to be much easier. Huh? What? You call people? No. You post status. That's right. There are people that post every day. Gershi Rose, Shimi Leafman. You know what Shimi Leafman status looks like? I'm not joking. Every day, 8 different clips that I don't even remember. I don't know where he gets them from. Okay. Makes his own. He's going to take this clip and make it into the status. Okay. Fine. Rabbi Isai, I have a few questions for the Olam. Here's a trick question. Anybody that knows the answer? If Rabbi Isai, if you buy one of the Haggadahs, you could get your daughter into seminary without an interview. Somebody just texted Noam, will it help my granddaughter get into seminary if I buy a Haggadah? Yes, but not one Haggadah. If you buy all the Haggadahs and you sponsor the whole thing, we'll talk. Rabbi say question, trick question. It's this is worth 1,000 points at least, especially if you weren't here last night. If you're here last night, forget about it. An oinen, somebody who lost a close relative, a father, mother, brother, and he's a kohen. Could he perform the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash? Could he do shchita, kabbalah, halacha in the Beis Hamikdash? You were here last night. What? What do you say? No, I said it's a trick question. If you say no, then you know that's not the answer. Yes is not the answer. Machloikis is not the answer. The answer is that a kohen gadol yes and a regular kohen not. Okay. Here's another trick question. You know when you have 10 animals, you have to bring meiser. You have to bring one animal as meiser. You bring it as a carbon to Beis Hamikdash. What if you bought 10 animals, inherited 10 animals, got it as a present? What's the halacha? Also, if you're here last night, please control yourselves. Remind me of my kids at the Shabbos table. My 17-year-old, Tzmura means this. I know you know. Let the little guy answer. No? You hear the question? Again, you have to bring Meiser Behema every 10 animals you have. What if you bought 10 animals, or received it as an inheritance, or you got it as a present, do you or do you not have to take meiser? Do you have to give meiser? It's a trick question, Rabbi Say.
If you're doing double, yes, and if you're not,
Unbelievable! Gewaldig! No. The answer is that if you receive it as a gift or you buy, you don't have to give meiser. But if you get it as an inheritance, then you do. Says the Gemara, we have a beautiful sugya today. We're going to see some unbelievable, especially at the end of the shir. We're going to go through the 24 matnas kahuna one by one quickly, and a lot of musagim today. Tana Rabbanon. Menayin lekoyin shaba. You got it? 6 lines from the bottom. Kuftes Amud Beis. Menayin lekoyin shaba. Umakriv korban b'chol eis ub'chol shosh yir. So this is a continuation of what we learned yesterday. We spoke about it. That we have 24 mishmaros in the Beis Hamikdash. Every week is another mishmar. We divide all the kohanim into 24 groups. Each group gets a week, and in that week, the kohanim, they go by different families. They get different days. What if I am not in the mishmar? I'm a kohen. Reb Nachum Katz is a kohen. He wants to bring a karban, an oila to Hashem, and it's not his mishmar. It's Rabbi Schoenberg's mishmar. What happens? He brings it, and he's in charge. Not the mishmar that's in charge. He's his own kohen. He does his own shchita, brings it, does whatever he wants to do. Now, Rabbi Say, we're going to learn probably all the way to the Mishnah, and it's telling us a very, very simple idea. This kohen, this Rabbi Nachum Katz, who comes to the Beis Hamikdash with his animal, there's 2 things that he's doing here. He's performing the shchita, which is the avodah, and he's also eating the karban. He could be memana shliach. He could engage an agent if he's available for one of those 2 things and whatever he's available for. So if he could do the avodah, why could he do the avodah? Because he's tahar. He's not. You don't even have to be tahar because he's not a balmum. He's not a balmum. He could do the avodah. So if he doesn't feel like doing the avodah, he could say, Rabbi Schoenberg, please do the avodah for me. He could decide who. Let's say he's a balmum, not him, a different kind. He's a balmum. So he cannot perform the avodah. So he doesn't have the right to make a shliach. Then who does it? Whoever's in the mishmar, in the Beis Hamikdash. What if he could do the avodah, but he can't eat it? He can't eat for whatever reason. He doesn't have teeth. He can't eat. So then he cannot make a shliach, and he can't say, oh, take my meat and eat it. Let's say he could eat. Then he could say, you eat, not you. That's the whole thing until the Mishnah. So let's see inside. Now, take your pencil out, because this word avodas is tricky. Avodah in all of Shas, even on this daf, could mean the avodah of shchita, of kabbalah ilacha. Over here, avodah means eating of the meat. Otherwise, it has no understanding in the sugya. So avodah means the meat. How do I know? It is the schar, exactly. Why is it called avodah? This is what you get. Out of the avodah comes the schar. This is what the meat comes. Okay, but it's called avodah here. This. And the hides are his. If you see a guy with leather pants and a leather jacket, don't think that he's some Harley Davidson guy. No, he's a kohen. He Pasha got some hides and he's using it. Talmud loymar v'ishes kadoshav loyu with the vav. It goes to him. Okay, tzad. For instance, what happens here? He cannot perform that avoid himself. He has no choice. They take over. And the kohanim in that mishmar, they do it, and he has no choice who does it or not. But the meat and the hides go to himself. Why? Because a balmum could eat. A balmum can't perform the avodah. Top of Daf Kufyud Amud Aleph. V'imhaya zaken oichayla. Now, if this kohen, for instance, here we got, I guess Yoshi was in the middle of. Doesn't matter. I mean, I guess you guys know what a zaken looks like, right? You want to do something with this. He was so old that he couldn't eat, but he could perform the avodah. The Gemara is going to explain how. He had the flu. He could not eat. He couldn't put anything in. He certainly couldn't eat a whole steak, right? There's times in life you just can't eat. So if you can't eat, then you don't have the right to give it over to another kohen. You lose your right. Nois in the kol kohen shiyurtza. Va'avidas va'ira lanshi mishmar. The avoida, the performing of the shchita, the kabbalah halacha zrika, that goes to whoever he decides. Why? Because he's a zakeh and he's a chayla, but he could do the avoida. So he decides who? The eating, the hides also. That he has no choice. That goes to the mishmar. Now, Tzvi just points out. He asks a question: if a kohen cannot eat, why does he lose his hides? Hide has nothing to do. He could put on a leather jacket. So they discuss it. Some say that they're connected to each other. You can't do one, you can't do the other. You'll figure out yourself. The small one. Hi zaken oichel, really, really small. Lebali moment. Hi zaken oichel heichidami. This, what kind of old person are we talking about? If he's able to eat, he's able to perform the avodah over here. Avodah means perform the avodah. So what kind of zaken is he? He can't eat, but he could perform avodah. What is it? He's very old, so everything he does, he could barely do. He could barely do the avodah, but he gets through it. Avodah, when you do shchita and you do the shchita correctly and halachically kosher, so it's a good avodah. Nothing happened. It took him 25 minutes to go from point A to point B with the blood in the kli. He got there. At the end of the day, he did the halacha. He did the zrika. He was shaking, but he did it. There's no isser to do it slow. However, so therefore, he could appoint a shliach because he's in the parsha. But if you can't eat and you force yourself to eat, it's not an achila. What happens if a person, after Sudam Afsekes on Erev Yom Kippur, he's up to here, nothing, zero. Like me, my first Yom Kippur fasting. So I was sick that day and I ate a lot. I was nervous. I ate a lot. And then 20 minutes after Shki, I threw everything up. The whole thing. Then I was sick the whole Yom Kippur. I had to break my fast. I was fainting. I was losing consciousness. Father says, you're breaking your fast. I don't care. You're breaking your fast. Go enough. Fine. A guy can't stick in another morsel. Nothing. And it's Yom Kippur. And he eats a whole steak. He's potter. That's not eating on Yom Kippur. It's achila gas, Yom Kippur. Tais says over here. Which Tais? Tais. The eating by achila gas is not eating. So if this is a zaken who cannot eat, he eats through intravenous or whatever, he's not eating. So his achila is not achila, so he cannot appoint a person to eat his steak. Where else do we have this problem with achila? Not only Yom Kippur. It has to be not achila gasa. Pesach night, va'afikoyman. And it's very common. You eat all these kazayim, another kazayis, and then you eat a whole meal. I prepared. Hey, you got to eat the fish and the meat and the chicken. There's the whole zah. And then comes afikoy. You can't eat. You're done. All the koises. How many koises are in there already? It's up there. You're not yoytz afikoyman. To the point that the Aharon discussed. You have to induce vomit. You have to throw up, Pasha, to make some room. Mishum. Somebody yelled out last time, I'm going to say who. He said, that's like a Litvisha halacha. Only Litvaks would be dealing with throw up and you got to get the kazayis in. Like, do I have enough for kazayis? I have half a kazayis. Oh. Right, Ben? Okay. Water breast, but not Litvaks. Not all Litvaks, okay. You say it's coming from a Litvak. No, you know what the chassid do probably? I don't know. They'll just push it off by 2 hours. I demand. Okay, we have the Rabbeinu Tam of Chatzos.
Have you ever seen a skinny chassid?
Oh, Rav Sheshes. Knocking everybody today. But one thing for sure, the guys in there Talmud don't care. Make fun of Chassidim all you want. Omar Rav Sheshes. Oh, so it goes like this. Rav Eli, I'm saying concepts like unbelievable all day here. First of all, fine. There's two concepts here. Tuma Hudra B'Tzibur, that is that if we're bringing a carbon for the tzibur or the kohanim are tamei, you can perform the avodah. The avodah only, they cannot eat it. But there's two different halachas that are very, very similar. They are brought down in Tosfos again, and I'm not telling you which. Tuma dechuya b'tzibur, tuma hudra b'tzibur. Now I'll find it for him. Hold on. Here, Tosfos dibra maskul e. Okay, but that's it. I'm not doing it tomorrow. Tuma hudra b'tzibur, tuma dechuya b'tzibur. What does it mean? They're similar but very different. Hudra b'tzibur means the tuma is mutter. That's it. I'm not even asking any questions. You're kohen, it's tamei. I'm not looking for any new kohanim to do it. It's hutter. It's like on Shabbos. Are you allowed to drive in an ambulance to the hospital 100%? Or at this moment, we made it dachui, we pushed it off. So, what? Suspended or pushed off completely. So, if it's dachuya, it's pushed off, that means look around. Maybe you'll find another kohen that's not tamei. If it's hutar, there's a heter today. Right now, there's a heter. Tuma is mutter. Anyway, so he says we're going according to the man that says Tchuya. Just wanted to point out this musig and shas. There is again. So for the performance of the avodah, you could be tamei if it's for the tzibur. Let's say you bring a carbon tamid in the morning and you're tamei. You could. It's Tchuya. If everybody's tamei, then you could bring it, but not to eat. Even if you're tamei and it's Tchuya, but tzibur, you cannot eat the meat because it's kachim. It's the right to eat while you're tamei. So imahaya koyin tamei. The carbon tzibur, this kohen, let's say he won it in a raffle. He got the carbon musaf of Shabbos is his, and he's tamei. Since he could perform the avodah himself, so it's the same concept. You can perform it yourself. You could appoint another person to do it for yourself. The eating part you cannot do, so it's none of your business who eats it. The mishmar grabs it. Says, how do you have people that could eat? If they could eat, that means the tar. If the tar, they should be performing the avodah. So what is going on here? We have a mix. Half the kohanim, let's say, are tamei, half of them are bali mumim. Those who are tamei could perform the avodah but cannot eat because they're tamei. Those who are bali mumim, they cannot perform the avodah because they're bali mumim, but they could eat because they're tar. End the story. Omer Avashi. Yeah. So here's the halacha. If a kohen gadol was a oinen, he lost one of his relatives. Now look what it says here in the psukim. Very nice. I want to point out that we're talking about this is a parish of kohen gadol. Even for his own father and mother, he does not go to the funeral. But Pasuk Yud Beis says, he continues performing avodah beis hamikdash. This is a halacha for kohen gadol only. But he cannot eat it. The avodah can perform, he can't eat it, so he doesn't decide who gets it. He goes to the mishmar, Michael Mashmal, but what's the chiddush tanina? A kohen gadol, he could do the avodah mefurish. It says mefurish in the Braisa, but he doesn't eat. Not only doesn't he eat, he cannot eat it after he's not an oinen anymore. Midoraisa at nightfall, he's not an oinen anymore. So let him put a steak on the side and eat it later. No, because then there's aninus midrabanan and he's not allowed to. So what's the chiddush over here? The Gemara says the chiddush is like this. I would think when the Torah was lenient with him, was only for him to perform the avodah. But don't take it too far. Don't say, let me be able to appoint other people also. No, once he's allowed to perform the avodah, he's permitted to make a shliach. Says the Heilige Mishnah. We have a sponsor for the Mishnah? No. These are halachas that we learned already. Person steals from the ger. He makes a shvuah that he didn't steal from him, and umeis, and the ger dies. He has to pay the principal, the keren. He has to pay the fifth, the 25%, to the kohanim. Va'asham lamizbeach. So three things, and he has to bring a carbon to the mizbeach. How do we see it? And we're going to be medayik a little bit in the psukim later. Shenemar v'im ein lo ish goya lahashiv ha'asham elov. So the word asham is very tricky because asham usually means a carbon, and over here it means the principle. Why does it mean the principle? Say principle. So that the Gemara is going to discuss. Ha'asham hamushav lashem lakayin. Hamushav over here means the fifth. Milvad Ela Kippurim is referring to the carbon. Asher yichaber bayolav. Hayamalas hakesef es asham umeis. He was going up to Yerushalayim and he died. Hakesef yirasin lebanov va'asham yirad sheitstayev. So the money goes to his own sons. Why? Because he just needs a kapara. He already was zoicha. When the ger dies, it becomes hefker, and hefker you take whoever holds onto the money grabs it. So then why does he have to give it to the kohen? Because he lied. He did a shvur sheker. So for that lie, he has to go and give the kohen the money. But he's dead, so he lost out on his kapara. Not only that, the carbon that he was supposed to bring also doesn't go up to the mizbech. You cannot bring a carbon for a person that did a chet after the person dies. Too late. So first of all, I wanted to ask a question. What?
Only once he gives it to them?
Mugdash, not in terms of the kapara. Here, Rabbi say, check this out. Let's see if it works. So yesterday, you missed it. The guy next to him flew out of the plane. And now the question is, how did this guy die now? The ger died because he pushed the red button. But how did this guy die? It's Pashan. How does this guy die? He doesn't even have... The Kevis did it. You don't see it so well, but anyways, the Kevis did it. Mustafa, such a shidduch, I met you. I want to return what I stole. It's on the plane's video. 1 second. First, I want a drink. You order service with this red button? Maybe I should blow it up a little bit. Okay. That was yesterday. But look at this Arab. Shmak. He's learning upside down. Okay, anyway. Fine. And this is the Asham going to Israel to Yerushalayim. And what do you do with him? So the halacha is like this. There's 5 chatois that have to die. If a person sets aside a chatas for an very did, he was Mechal Shabbos, B'shoy, he brings a chatas. V'timna, right? The Rosh is v'timna. The middle one, the one in gold, is chatas shemesu b'aleh. It's a very unfortunate thing. I will never forget till this very day. Dr. Epstein asked me back. I think we're back there. He's like, why? Like, why do we do this to this poor animal? Like, what did an animal do? Remember that? I remember. But anyway, it's possible. So, what do? You take this animal, Nebuch, and if the guy dies, the owner dies. So you can't bring a carbon after the guy dies. So basically, you just put it into a pen, a kippah, you lock it in there, and unfortunately, it dies. You don't take care of it. It's a very unfortunate thing. 5 of them. Fine. Oh, nice. Yeah. So now, there's another musik in Shas called Kol shebechatas mesa ba'asham raya. We're not talking about a chatas here. Don't get confused. If a person sets aside a chatas and he dies, then you take the chatas, you put it into a pen, and you let it die. But if it's not a chatas, it's an asham. Like in our case, the guy stole from a ger, he has to bring a asham. And then he dies. So what would you do if it was a chatas? You'd kill the chatas. In this case, you let it graze until it befalls a mum, and then you sell it. Then you're able to sell it. It loses its kedusha, so you sell it, you take the money, and you buy kachim with it. What if he gave the money? There's 2 steps over here. He has to give the money and he has to give the carbon. He only did step 1, he gave the money. Nebuch, he missed out. Why? Because if he would die before he gave the money, his Yarshim would have all this money. He stole a car, $50,000, a lot of money. He brought it to the Beis HaMikdash, boop, he gives it to the Kohen, he drops dead from a heart attack, and he didn't even bring his carbon, he didn't even finish his kapara. They cannot ask for the money back. Once you give it to the Kohen, it's done, locked up. Now, Rabbi, take a look at this chart. These are the 24 mishmaros of the Kohanim. Now, Rabbi Jacob's grandson probably knows them Baal Peh, but most of us don't. 1 and 2 is Yehoyarev and Yedaya. That's all we need to know for today. 1 and 2. So they get the first week, Yedaya gets the second week, etc., and it keeps on going. Happens to be, Stam is a side note, this is in Bais Rishon. Bais Sheni, when Klal Yisroel came back from Golos, Yarav didn't show up. So Yedaya became number one. In fact, none of these, almost all of them didn't show up, only 4. So 4 out of these 24 took all 24 mishpacha. In other words, each one got 6. They had 6 parts. So that if somebody would show up, they would lose 1/6 of their part. Yarav would take 1/6 of Yedaya. Okay, but now we're talking about 1 and 2. When it comes to there's a certain order they have to do in order to get a kapara. First, you give the keren, you pay the chaimish, then you bring the carbon. Carbon is all the way at the end. So if you messed up the order, you got to start it over again. Nasan hakesef le'yariv, you paid the money to Yariv, that's great. Va'asham le'yedaya, that's also in order. Yatza. So you did it okay. Maybe you should have given both to Yariv, but the order was okay. Maybe you didn't have a carbon. So you came to Beis Hamikdash one day, you gave the $50,000 to Yariv, you came back a week later and you brought an animal to you for a carbon.
You just did it at the very end of the mishpacha.
Yeah, different things. He moves really slow, whatever it is. Asham la Yarav. But if he did the opposite, he gave the carbon first to the first mishmar. V'kesef liyadaya, and he gave the money to the second mishmar. Im kayim asham, if they didn't kill the animal yet, they didn't shech the yakrivu b'nei yadaya, then b'nei yadaya gets the animal. What happened? The fact that Yarav, Asham, Yarav had the animal, they lose out. It's a knas, says Rashi. V'im loy, but if they shechted the animal, then this animal went to waste. He has to bring another asham. If you bring the money first and then the carbon second, but if you bring the carbon first and the money second, if he gave the principal but didn't pay the 25%, it's not a big deal. Here's the pasuk, if we forgot. He doesn't know, he can't give it back to a person. He has the gneva, he stole from, we said this pasuk is talking about Gzela Sager, he stole Gezel. He did a Gezel, he came, broad daylight, stole from a ger. He has to bring the principal, the chaimesh, and the carbon. How do we know it? From these words. Ha'asham hamushav. But where does in the word ha'asham, where does it say money, principal? It says asham, asham means a carbon. Says Gemara, Asham is a keren, it means the principle. Hamushav, the word hamushav means the chaimesh. The chaimesh. Who told you? Asham is an ayil, like it means. It'll come out. Well, we know that this pasuk means all 3 things. That we know. But maybe the word asham doesn't mean the keren. Maybe asham means the carbon, and some other word means the carbon. Well, it will come out a very big nafkamina. The Rava, because Rava learns that why does it think about it? Why does it use the word asham instead of the word keren, principle? Asham means a carbon. To teach us that the principle has halachas of a carbon. What halachas? You can't give it back at night. You can't give a semi. You have to give the whole entire thing back. You cannot return gezel ager at night. Why? Because he learns it from the word asham like a carbon. If you give half back, lo yatsa. My time asham kari rachmana. Oh. So if I'm going to use the word asham, not for the principle, but for the carbon, I'm not going to know Rava's halachas. Very obvious. At the end of the pasuk says so obviously the word asham is not talking about a carbon because he's already bringing a carbon at the end of the pasuk. So the word asham means the principle. And then let's keep on going. What's pshat over here in the pasuk? Asham is a keren. Hamush is the chaimesh. Okay, we already established the end of the pasuk. Last few words in the pasuk are talking about a carbon. But what about the word asham and mushav? Who told you mushav means 5th and asham means principle? Or maybe asham means 5th and mushav means principle. Let's flip it around. And what would I lose from that? Because it says this nan. It says in the Mishnah, if a person paid, like we just said at the end of our Mishnah, the chaimesh is not ma'akiv. It's not such a big deal. So it says, and we learned in the Mishnah that if you give the principle and you forgot to give the guy, the chaimesh, ain't a chaimesh ma'akiv. Adarabah, chaimesh ma'akiv. If we learn like this, that is asham, from the word asham, it means the 25%, just like a carbon is ma'akiv, so to the chaimesh is ma'akiv. Over here would mean that, what do you mean? Ma'akev, where? In this Nikuda Ma'akev? Okay, weiter. Shuoimer. Ve'esh v'ashomer b'roisha v'chamishi soy. Havi oimer osham zekeren. Okay, because the pasuk right before, pasuk Zayin says, we're talking about the 25%. It says mefurish v'chamishi soy. So obviously the word hashamay 2 words before cannot mean 25%. It must mean the principle. Fine. Tanya Yidoch. In the third pshat over here, Osham Zekeren, Amushav Zechoimish, Gezel Ger goes down. We're talking about Gezel that happened broad daylight. Oh yeah, no, Amushav Zekefel. Maybe we're talking about Kefel, the double. They have to pay the coin twice. We're talking about Geneva. Remember the difference between Ganav and Gazan. Ganav is the middle of the day, night. Gazan is the middle of the day. And only a Ganav pays twice a Gazan not. When the Torah says Beroishai, it should say pay back the principal and then 25. What's Beroishai? Interesting word. Roisha means it's by itself as is. Gufa, Amarava. So there's no kefil. We're not talking about kefil, we're talking about gezel. So the in fact, the kefil you don't have to give to the kohanim. Gufa, Amarava. Gezel agesh chziru belayla lo yatsa. Chziru chatzon lo yatsa. Word for word, like we said before, Rava says that if you give back the gezel at night, lo yatsa chziru chatzon lo yatsa. If you pay 1 out of 2, lo yatsa. My time oshim kari rachmana. Ve'o Amarava. So this the Gilyon Shas says over here on the side. But Mitzvah, we have one other place in Shas that the Gemara does this. It says Gufa, repeats word for word everything we just said, and doesn't ask a question. Usually Gufa, then there's a question. Not here. Don't tell Menachem and Fenster and those guys, we're going to ask it if I ever get invited back to the Shas Yidin. So where does it say Gufa in Shas and doesn't ask you a question? I'm sure they'll know. Vamarava. Now this is important for us. This is why the Gemara brought it. Vamarava. Amazing chiddush that let's say a person steals a car and the car is worth $30,000 and there's 50,000 kohanim. So let's say a prut is $1, which is not much less, but let's say so he cannot come there and give each kohen $1. No, he's going to be less. So he has to give each kohen $1. He has to give $50,000. So he has to, from his own pocket, says Rashi, he has to be mashal. From $30,000 to $50,000, he has to pay $20,000 out of his pocket, that each coin should get a pruta. But he's smart. He goes through the list, and he sees there's 24 mishmaros, and there's one mishmar that they have less kids. So he does that. Says the Gemara, you need a pruta for each and every one. Boy Rava. As Rava, he cannot afford Yoyar. Lot of kohanim. Boy, Daf Yud Amud Beis. But he has enough to pay up each Yidaya member a pruta. So the Gemara, what's your case? If he shows up at the right week, Yidaya is in the Beis Hamikdash. So of course it works. He shows up, he sees there's a lot of kohanim, he finds out Yarav has 50,000 kohanim. It's not good for him, he's going to have to come out of pocket. So he goes to the head of Yidai, he says, here's $30,000, use it when it's your mishmar or whatever. Since it's not his mishmar, he did 0, he has to do it again. Since it doesn't work for you, Yarav, he has to come out of pocket. So automatically it's more appropriate for Yidai's mishmar. Maybe it works. Taiku. By Rava. Could you do business with other guys, let's say in the mishmar? Comes a guy with a computer and he starts giving out parts of the computer. He says, no, I have plenty of computers. I don't need a computer. The next guy that stole from a ger and he stole apples, I want apples. You take my computer parts, I get your apple. You can't do business with this kind of thing. Me, Amrina Osham Kari Rachmana. Do you say it's like a Osham? Ma Osham, Ein Chalkim Osham Kineged Osham. You can never do business with the food of the karbanas. You either eat it or you give it away. But you don't tell somebody, here, I have a lot of extra steaks. Tomorrow you're gonna have a lot of extra steaks. So let's do a trade. I give you today, you give me tomorrow. If you do that, it doesn't work.
Even that originally had the mishmaros with them.
Huh?
Even that originally the mishmaros with them, they were spot.
Who says? They swapped the mishmaros? You're allowed to give, no problem. You're allowed to give to another kind to eat. But you can't make deals. You can't say, I'm giving to you on condition that you give me tomorrow. Maybe we learn from a carbon. But at the end of the day, a computer is a computer. So we're dealing with monetary things, so we'll do a little deal. The Pashto, then Rav said, no, in fact, Gezel Hager is like a carbon, you cannot do deals. Rav his son says, there was never a question. You cannot do business with the Gezel Hager. My time, Oshim Kari Rechmon. Boy Rava. Kohanim Gezel Hager, Yorshim Havu and Mikalim Matanas Havu. Very nice shaila over here. When a kohen receives the Gezel Hager, a guy stole from a ger, swore that he didn't steal, he dies, now he wants to pay back, he wants to do tshuva, it goes to the kohanim of that mishmar. When they receive that Gezel Hager, do we view it as a gift or do we view it as an inheritance? What's an afkimina? L'mayin afkimina. Kigon shegoz l'chometz shover lev Pesach. If he stole from the ger a bunch of pizza, and now came Pesach, and it's worthless after Pesach, can he just drop it off by the kohen's house and say, here's a worthless pie of pizza, I'm going to the mitzvah. Why? If he was an inheritor, the kohen is an inheritor, Hanu the Yarsi Moris. So you can just give it to him. But if it's a gift, the Torah says, give a kind of gift. Giving him a big fat zero is not a gift, and you have to come out of pocket and buy a new pie of pizza. You didn't give him anything. The Torah says, give him a gift. You give him a box of dirt. Zero boyachi. Zera says a little differently. Even if you say that a kohen receives a gift, that's pashut that you could just give the kohen a gift. Here's a beautiful box of pizza that's overall of a Pesach. The value is -0 because now you have to not only do nothing with it, but you have to dispose of it. You could do that because the Torah says, give that Gezel Hager back. And this is the Gezel Hager. It's a pie of pizza I stole before Pesach. Now it's after Pesach. But if I had a question, there were 10 animals. Here we could see this. I mean, it's a long one, but you have 10 animals. Every 10th animal, you have to strike it with red paint. And that red animal becomes Meiser Behema. Bong! It goes like that. Anyways, you take this animal and you bring it to the Beis Hamikdash and you put it on the Mizbeach. And what happens? Then what? You get to eat the meat. Kohen, this, what?
Like a sheep zebra.
Yeah. Sheepra. Who? Oh, so this is the question. Do we view them as a bunch of Yarshim? Like Yarshim who get B'tfisas Habayis, that's Yerusha before the Chalukah. They inherited sheep. They have to, and the father never took Meiser. So you inherited sheep without Meiser, you have to take it to Meiser. Or perhaps they received the gift. If you purchase unmeisered sheep, or you received as a gift 10 animals that meiser wasn't taken from them, how do we view this Gezel Hager? Is it a Yerusha or Matana? Tashma. Now, if you zoom all the way to the 2 dots, like 7 lines by the bottom, it says the last one. I could even show you the list here if you don't want to look that way. This is the last thing on the list, Gezel Hager. There's 24 matnos kuhuna. There's 24 gifts, not Yerusha, gifts given to the kohen. Number 24 is Gezel Hager. So you see that you see that Gezel Hager it's number 10 out of the list of matnos begvulim. Now, let's see. It's not a Yerusha. Not a Yerusha, it's Matana. You don't have to take Meiser Sheni. You don't have to. Okay. So it goes like this. Sorry. Where is it by you guys? Like 2 lines before it becomes wide. What is going on here? We all know what a klal pratu klal. A klal is a generalization, specification, generalization. So Pasuk Ches says, very general. I'm giving you a bunch of gifts. Pasuk Tes, Yud 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 Beis Gimel all the way to your test talks about many of the gifts. Bikurim, the whole thing, the whole different things. So the Torah is very general. I'm giving you all these trumas, and then it says at the end called trumas hakadosh, and it's also very general. And in the sandwich, in Pasuk Tes, Yud Yud Aleph, and all the other psukim over there, it talks very specific. So it's klal, pratu klal. All the way at the end of Pasuk Yud Tes, it says, Bris melach olam hi lefnei Hashem l'chol zarecha itoch. It's a covenant of salt. A bris melach. What does that mean? So says the Gemara, v'kula nitnu b'klal pratu klal bris melach. Don't get nervous. It's 10 words, and we're done with that idea. If you give the Kayan all these 24 gifts, it's as if you Mekayim the entire Torah, says Rashi, that was given B'klal Pradu Klal. So if you Mekayim the 24 Matanis, you Mekayim the whole Torah, and also Bris Melach. Bris Melach, says Rashi, symbolizes Karbanos. So if you Mekayim the 24 gifts, you brought all the Karbanos that you need to bring. If you Mechal Shabbos by mistake, this, whatever it is, you chayv karas, you suffer karas, totally, you did it all. But if you're not mekayim these matanis, you don't give it to the kayan. Kilo over al klal brother clouds as if you were over on the entire Torah ubris melach and you didn't bring korbanos. Veiluhain, this is the list. Eser b'migdash, there are 10 that you only get to eat inside the base of Migdash. Va'arba b'Yerushalayim, there's 4 that you give in Yerushalayim. Ve'eser b'gvulim, there's 10 that are in entire Eretz Yisrael. Eser b'Migdash, here's the list, Rabbi Isai. You could look at the list while we're reading it, you can look at it afterwards. It's very detailed. Chatas behema v'chatas ha'oif. So, chatas behema is a yachid nazir tzibur. Chatas ha'oif. Ani mitzayra, you let this zava bring a bird. Yeah, a woman that gives birth has to bring birds afterwards. So, they get to share in the meat of these chatais. V'asham vadai. Asham vadai is gzeilos, milos, charufo, nazir, mitzayra. Rashi says it. Brings all these things. Asham taloi means if a person doesn't know if he's chayiv karas or not, so in order to absolve him of the karas, it's very dangerous. He can't live life like that because he could die by mistake. So he brings a asham taloi. V'zivchei shami tzibur. Shami tzibur is the kifsei atzeres, the 2 sheep they bring on Shavuos. V'loik shemesh ha-mitzayra, there's the process of the tahara of the mitzayra. He brings oil, puts it on his thumb and his big toe, and so the leftover oil goes to the kohanim. And the leftover of the minchas oimer that allows us to eat the new crop. Ushtei halechem, and the 2 breads that we bring on Shavuos. Velechem hapanim, the 10 breads that we have every single week on Shabbos. Ushior menachos, and the leftover menachos that the kohen does kmitza, sticks his hand into the flour, takes this much, 3 fingers, puts it on the mizbeach. All the leftover flour goes to kohen. I'm just thinking to myself now, like a rebbe does havdalah, right? And then he puts his finger in this. Then Hasidim come and they also take. Imagine when the kohen gadol or kohen goes like this. It has like everybody wants a little bit of that flour, a little bit of that oil, the leftover. We all drink from the koshel bracha after by zimun. So over here it's in the Beis Hamikdash. You can imagine how beautiful it is. V'arba b'Yerushalayim. Okay, so we did the 10. Now we're holding at the 4. It will be 14 plus 10 equals David 24. That's why it's number 24. V'arba b'Yerushalayim. Ha'b'chayra, the firstborn. V'abikurim, from the Shivas Haminim we bring the peiros. V'hamura min atoida. Let's do this list over here. Mura min atoida means chazis shoik of the carbon taida. The chalois, the breads, the different breads, rikikim, matzos, the whole thing. Zechus b'sheila of the nazir. Veil nazir. This is Eil nazir. I think he even we don't have to do that now. He threw in something over here. Va'oros kadashim, and all the hides from the kachim, from the animals, from the korbanos, all the hides go to the kohanim. Interesting halacha. You're allowed to bring these hides to chutz la'aretz. They're given in Eretz Yisrael, but they be Yerushalayim, you can take them out. And these are the 10 that are in all of Eretz Yisrael. Truma. What's Truma? Everybody knows Truma. If you have produce, you give 2% to the Kohen. Utrumas Meiser, this is where everybody gets messed up with. Trumas Meiser means the amount that the Levi gives the Kohen. It's like Truma. The Yisrael gives 2%. The Levi also gives 10% of what he received from the Yisrael. So he receives 10% of what's left over from the Yisrael. He gets about 10 apples. The Kohen gets 1, he gets 10. And from those 10 apples, he gives 1 apple, 10% of that, to the Kohen. That's one of the matanos. The challah, we all know, when you make dough, you have to give off challah, mafresh challah, a certain amount, 5 pounds, they say, whatever. How much is it, Rabbi Shomer? Challah, how many pounds? No, from.
5.
2 kilo, no, 5. Veracious, I guess. And if you have sheep, you give the first shearing to the Kohen. How many sheep, Rabbi Yisai? 5. 5 sheep. You have to have a minimum of 5. V'amatonos. Matanos. I love showing this picture because I was once Zoicha. And here's Leibi. Mamish, you look the same, Leibi. You know how many years ago? This is in Chulin. Huh? I do not look the same. I got whiter. Yeah, it was next door. This is when we shechted an animal. So I paid for that animal. So it was the first time I was able to be zoicha, to give it to somebody who's married to a kohenes. Rabbi Didi Kramer's wife is a bas kohen. So you're permitted to give the matanos to somebody married to a bas kohen. And that's not like a piece of lettuce. That's just a yellow bag that it's in. And over here, there's the jaw. It's a whole bunch of stuff that you don't really, whatever. I guess the Kohanim liked it. Jaw. But there is a foreleg over there. There's, huh? Yeah, there's a little bit of tongue, I think, in there. The cheek, huh? Okay. V'amatonos. The only thing, somebody remind me, the little mistake I think we made is that we did it towards the end of Chulin rather before we started Chulin. Because it was a mile also, we knew exactly what Yisrael Sakovid and how the kloyos and the this. But I think if we had it before and after. Okay, we gotta do it twice. Upidin ben, the 5 slime that you give a kohen for the pidyon ben, upidyon pedach chamar, and when you redeem your donkey with a sheep, or if you redeem with another animal, it has to be the value of the chamar. Uzdei achuzo that we just had yesterday, that if a person inherits a field and he donates it to the Beis Hamikdash, and the Beis Hamikdash sells it off, it goes back to the kohanim, not to the original owner, on Yovel. Which kohen gets it? The mishmar. Uzdei charamim. This is just interesting. A person says, my field should be a cherim. So it goes automatically to the kohen. And then it says finally, the last one, v'gezel ger. And if somebody stole from a ger, he has to give it to the kohen. And this is one of the 24 matanos. V'kikori miyas matana shmamino mekabli matanas avu. You see that this is all called gezel ger is a matana shmamino. Rabboisai, have a wonderful day. Rabboisai, let's try to say Kapitel Tehillim, maybe everybody together. Shirem alois, mimamakim grosicha adinoi.